This video is about exposing Boris Johnson as a puppet of the Rothschilds, and that they are pushing him to become Prime Minister of the UK. Now, in the UK we have this fake controversy of Brexit. Now, Theresa May has just resigned, and the favourite to become Prime Minister is Boris Johnson, and Boris Johnson has links to the Rothschild family, Israel and Freemasonry. Now, the UK and the United States actually created the EU after the Second World War, and the EU is run by Freemasons, and the centre of Freemasonry is in England and Scotland and Switzerland. And so the EU is actually run by the City of London and the UK, but the UK doesn't want to be subject to the laws and taxes of the EU. So the UK has never fully been part of the EU. It's always had this separate status, so it can protect the City of London, so that it doesn't have to pay tax and it's not subject to the laws of the EU. And so that is what Brexit is about. And they're using this controversy to put Boris Johnson into power. And here we have Boris Johnson and Linda Rothschild, the former wife of Jacob Rothschild, and they're promoting women's rights and the LGBT agenda.
Workforces is a very important step toward getting us to finally have gender equality.
You see, you can't. These people are the less than 1% that rule the world and own all the wealth, and yet they're lecturing to you about gender equality and LGBT. And I mean, the hypocrisy is incredible when the basic inequality is that these people have most of the world's wealth. That is the true inequality about this world. And so here he is with Linda Rothschild. Now, in this next image you have Boris Johnson with his brother Joe Johnson, and they were both members of the Bullingdon Club in Oxford. The Bullingdon Club is an elite secret society where the highest aristocracy are part of it. It's a bit like the Skull and Bones in America. Okay, now Joe Johnson was in the same year and is a close friend to Nathaniel Rothschild. And here we have Joe Johnson, Nathaniel Rothschild, the son of Jacob Rothschild, and we have another famous Tory MP here. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. George Osborne. There we have George Osborne there. So you can see they're members of the Bullingdon Club, this secret society, and which goes on to become prime ministers in the UK. So there's no democracy. Here we have Boris Johnson with Jacob Rothschild, and they're in front of Bollingdon Manor, and this is similar to the Eyes Wide Shut place in the film, where they have the satanic orgy, the Illuminati orgy in Eyes Wide Shut. So this is Bollingdon Manor, owned by the Rothschilds, and you can see Boris Johnson here doing a Masonic pose with his hands hidden in his pockets. So he's doing the hidden hand symbol of the Freemasons. Okay. Now, in this next post, we see that in the Jerusalem Post that top Tory candidates for the PM are all pro-Israel, and Boris is the most pro-Israel person there is in the establishment, because he represents the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds created Israel. And here he is with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's always supporting Israel and defending Israel no matter what. So he's like Donald Trump. He's going to become the British Donald Trump. Donald Trump was also put there by the Rothschild family. And we see here that Boris defended Trump's decision to move the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. So again, showing his pro Israeli stance, the same as Trump. He's funded by the same people. So Boris Johnson, pro-Israel, pro-Rothschild, secret society member. And here we have Boris Johnson at the Wailing Wall in Israel, and that in this article in the Jerusalem Post it says that Boris Johnson considers himself Jewish. So Boris Johnson has a Jewish Russian aristocratic background, and again you can clearly see here who Boris Johnson represents the interests of Israel. Like Donald Trump, they are both puppets of Israel, and he will become British Prime Minister. And Boris Johnson has written a book on Churchill, and Boris Johnson sees himself as Winston Churchill. Okay, so Boris Johnson thinks he is Winston Churchill, and actually has written a book on Winston Churchill. And what's interesting is that they both have American mothers. Winston Churchill has secret Jewish heritage, and Winston Churchill was a Freemason. And Boris Johnson has a very colourful sexual history, and he's had lots of affairs and stuff. And what's interesting is that the British establishment and himself are trying to portray him as Churchill. And could this mean that in the near future we're actually going to war with Iran, and he will be our war leader? And we have Trump, who's willing to go to war with Iran to fulfill Israel's agenda and the agenda of the New World Order. And is Boris Johnson the next Churchill, as he's been marketed as this posh hero who's actually a member of the Bullingdon Club, secret society, and linked to the Rothschilds, and this is part of their plan of world domination, and he's the next Prime Minister to fulfill it. Okay.